Hey, how you doing? This is Adam Post, publisher of more than 1,000 comic books and marketing expert covering Inside Out 2 destroys Hollywood's nonsense propaganda. Let's get into the story. Before we do, please be sure you are subscribed to the channel. Click the bell for notifications. Give me a thumbs up. I really appreciate you guys. We have been hearing from entertainment media like Hollywood Reporter, Deadline. We've heard numerous explanations for why movies just weren't doing well anymore. It was because of the Hollywood strikes. It was because of the pandemic. It was because people got out of the routine of going to the movie theater. In Pixar's case, it was because Pixar movies were being put onto streaming services. So why would someone want to go see a hot new movie if that movie would eventually be on your streaming service? Well, all of those excuses never really rung true because they weren't true. They were explanations for why people could put out propaganda, progressive culture projects that no one actually really wanted to see. Inside Out 2 is not a movie like that, so it's breaking box office records, doing incredibly well, and putting Pixar and Disney back in the movie business. From Breitbart, the brilliant John Nolte, Inside Out 2 exposes entertainment media as pathetic propagandists. Just 4 years ago, this was considered like a normal article in the Hollywood Reporter. You won't see this again very soon. From the Hollywood Reporter, the whiteness of Toy Story 4. It's not just the near absence of people of color in the Pixar film Toy Story 4 that's bothersome. It's the absence of anything approximating life in America as most know it. Well, you would think if you made a movie where no one in America saw their lives represented in the movie, they couldn't relate at all to what you were doing, the movie would be a complete failure, right? Well, what business did Toy Story 4 actually do? Glad you asked. From Box Office Mojo, Toy Story 4 in 2019 did $1 billion in business worldwide, almost $1.1 billion worldwide. Of course, counting for inflation, you'd be well over $1.1 billion worldwide. How about Pixar's most recent releases? Like Lightyear from 2022, where we got a very important lesbian kiss that nobody asked for. It did $226 million worldwide. And Elemental did $496 million worldwide, $154 million domestic. To get a perspective, a point of view, Inside Out 2 has already done more domestic than Elemental did in its whole run. It's done over $200 million, and it hasn't even been out for 2 weeks yet. Same with Lightyear. Lightyear did $118 million before they had to stop showing it domestically. Inside Out 2 has done almost twice that now at $205 million. Produce movies that people actually want to see and they'll be successful. Inside Out 2 has gotten good reviews, but not from Vulture. Inside Out 2 is another product of the Pixar slump. What's she complaining about? It goes something like this. Filmmaker and Chief Creative Officer Peter Docter made headlines last month thanks to a line in Bloomberg Business Week about how going forward, quote, the studio's movies should be less a pursuit of any director's catharsis and instead speak to a commonality of experience. That was interpreted understandably, because that's what he meant, as a refutation of the company's recent push towards more diverse characters and creators. But watching Inside Out 2, which was directed by Kelsey Mann, I had to wonder if what's actually being nixed is the willingness to let emotional truths take the lead over more marketable and kid-friendly elements. You're doing animation and you're not going to do kid-friendly elements? Of course you're supposed to do that. And Disney's getting back to it. I'm not saying to go support Disney. I'm just saying Disney is aware they can't get away with trying to push progressive agendas in all of their movies anymore. And when the head of Pixar says that movies should be less of a pursuit of any director's catharsis, here's what he's talking about. Catharsis, the process of releasing and thereby providing relief from strong or repressed emotions. What's an example of a catharsis? Examples of catharsis include physical or verbal expressions of feeling, such as hitting a punching bag, screaming or sobbing, or going for a long run. In each of these examples, catharsis would occur if the action has the result of releasing previously pent-up emotions such as anger, frustration, or sadness. No, when you go to the movies and you bring your children to the movies, you're not looking to have them experience sadness. You're not looking to have them convert to some progressive religion. You want them to just have a wholesome good time. If they learn something too, that's even better. From Breitbart, Inside Out 2 exposes entertainment media as pathetic propagandists. Because entertainment media like Hollywood Reporter, Deadline, Variety were trying to cover up like what was actually going on with the movie industry. Was the movie industry really collapsing? Or were their creative choices really collapsing? Their decision to use their platform to push an agenda versus just giving people relatable characters and stories that made them feel good, not sad or angry, or not confused as to what you actually trying to tell me here in this story. And now the truth is out. The blowout box office success of Disney's Inside Out 2 has exposed the sycophant entertainment media as shameless and pathetic propagandists. The movie business has been around for more than 100 years. Throughout the 20th century, it managed to survive the Great Depression, 2 world wars, 2 pandemics, strikes, generational upheaval, and the creation of radio, home video, cable TV, the internet, and broadcast TV. Cable TV, the internet, broadcast TV, all of this produced tremendous competition to movie theaters. Why go out of the house if you can sit home and watch cable TV? Why go out of the house if you can get streaming services through the internet or other things you can watch on the internet like YouTube? How could movies have lasted this long? Because people like to get out of their house and actually be with their community and watch a story with their community and get community reactions to the story being told on the movie theater screen. Movie theaters and movies are viable. It is a viable business, but you have to, of course, produce things that people want to see. Nevertheless, the same so-called professionals who are paid to cover the movie business have been gaslighting the public and themselves for years, blaming the recent collapse at the box office on everything but the product. Most of us have heard the term gaslight before. The term gaslight came from the movie Gaslight, which you can see for free on YouTube. It came out in 1944, and it tells the story of how a scammer tells lies to a woman to manipulate her, and tells her what she's seeing with her own eyes is not true, causing her to doubt herself and to basically go crazy. That's what gaslighting is, but check out the movie, it's interesting. Hollywood's entertainment media tried to tell us the box office collapse had nothing to do with the movies. They said it was the pandemic. No, of course it couldn't have been the pandemic because the movie business already survived a couple of those. They said it was the strikes. No, the movie business has already survived more than one Hollywood strike. They said it was streaming services killing the movie business. No, everybody knows that if the movie business can survive radio, TV, VCRs, DVDs, it can certainly survive Netflix. Netflix is something you have to watch in your house. It doesn't mean people won't subscribe to Netflix. Of course, many people do. It just means what you can get from a movie theater, you can't get from Netflix. Entertainment media also blames sexism. Here they are blaming sexism. Quote, in terms of how such hate campaigns can manifest, one part is rallying their supporters to dislike and review bomb the projects they wish to attack in an effort to prove their minority is actually in the majority. It's possible these campaigns employ bots to help them rack up numbers of dislikes and negative reviews, or that some folks are doing it to be trolls. But there are very real issues of racism and misogyny that pervade society. As such, it's incredibly likely there's a huge number of people who take issue with the Marvels trailer simply because it's led by a white woman, a black woman, and a young Pakistani Canadian woman. Yes, it's the Canadian part particularly that we have an issue with. No, we love our Canadians. We're crazy about white women and Pakistanis. It's not sexism. It's just, you have to put out something that's appealing or people aren't going to respond positively to it. Also, when you try to rebrand something like they did with the Marvels and say, no, you can't have male superheroes anymore. We don't need white male superheroes. The same thing that Marvel made its brand based on. We need to introduce a group of women and you need to like it even if you don't like it because otherwise you're sexist. Well, that didn't work. The Marvels was a complete failure and caused a complete rethink at Disney for how they were going to run the entire Marvel brand. Which is why this year we're only going to see the Deadpool Wolverine movie from Marvel. They don't even have any other movies to offer. Yet Inside Out 2 is a female-led movie that just broke box office records. And let's not forget Barbie. Here they are blaming 2023 strikes for taking us out of the movie-going habit. Quote, despite more movies in the marketplace, we're still feeling the aftermath of the strikes. How is that? Many aren't in the habit of movie-going yet. And yet, Inside Out 2 broke box office records just a few weeks after Deadline claimed the strikes killed our movie-going habit. Oh, and the week before that, Bad Boys Ride or Die overperformed with a $52 million opening. It was considered to have overperformed because it did more money on opening weekend than was even projected. Here they are blaming a lack of product. Quote, a downtick in box office grosses was expected this year due to production delays caused by the Hollywood double strike last year and a lack of major blockbusters on the level of recent hits like Avatar: The Way of Water, the Super Mario Bros. Movie, and Barbie. Exhibition sources have told The Wrap that 2025 is seen as a potential rebound year with higher profile tentpoles and a greater quantity of theatrical releases on the slate. Yet, there really in reality is no lack of product. Quote, the lackluster box office start comes despite audiences having more theater options than they've had in years. This year through February 18th, there were 11 wide release movies. Wide release is when you release a movie and you've got at least 2,000 locations nationwide. There were 9 wide release titles through the same time frame last year. What was lacking is a product people find appealing and want to see, like Inside Out 2. And here's the author's favorite and most frequent excuse, blaming Disney Plus for Disney's serial box office flops. Quote, the emergence of their streaming service Disney Plus has made audiences question whether it's worth paying to see Disney's animation films in theaters. Disney's strategy of sending certain titles like Turning Red to Disney Plus has led to diminishing box office returns, tarnishing the brand, and making it less urgent for moviegoers to see their films on the big screen. Or they could just make movies that people actually want to see, and now they have, with Inside Out 2. And yet, despite the existence of Disney Plus, Disney's Inside Out 2 just broke box office records and opened better than every pre-Disney Plus Pixar movie except The Incredibles 2. If there is one constant at the box office over the last few years, it's the following. Woke movies underperform or outright flop at a 100% rate. Barbie's the single exception. While non-woke movies made for normal people like Bad Boys Ride or Die, Inside Out 2, Super Mario Bros., Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, Top Gun Maverick, and Oppenheimer rake in money. The movies have already survived TV, strikes, cultural upheavals, wars, pandemics, depressions, and Ben Affleck. No one wants to be lectured. No one wants to be told we should be judged on our skin color and sex. No one likes smug characters, girl bosses, or watching their heroes emasculated. But guess what we do want? We still want to go to the movies. The fact that we're not going is not our fault or streaming's fault or the pandemic's fault or the strike's fault. It's the killjoy woke Gestapo's fault. I think that there have been changes at Disney. I think there have been changes at some of these other companies. I'm not saying to go respect these companies. I'm not saying to support these companies. I'm saying black and white, there have been changes. Inside Out 2 does exist. Its success does exist. The Deadpool and Wolverine movie looks like they've made changes. They do seem to be reacting to the marketplace. I didn't know if they would or wouldn't react, but now they are making changes in their productions. The head of Pixar is making statements like, look, no more catharsis from the director. No more trying to force people to accept crazy agendas. And if you see people complaining about that, it's not review bombing. It's real. They really are doing it. So you can certainly stay away from those projects. Things will probably never be the same in entertainment media. You know, in this article, I did this research for this video in The Hollywood Reporter, the whiteness of Toy Story 4. One of the things the writer is upset about is their introduction of a white fork character. They're criticizing the fork for being white, the plastic fork. They say here, true, there are a few characters of color, including 2 supporting players, but each of the leads is Caucasian, and not just the franchise regulars, but a host of new ones, including a very white fork that's among the more memorable and merchandisable creations of this 4th iteration of the series. As Matthew Cherry, the African-American director of animated short Hair Love, recently told The Hollywood Reporter, quote, when you don't see yourself represented, and you don't see people with your same type of hair seen as the hero and seen as loving and desired, it really does a number on your self-confidence. I think it does a number on his self-confidence. This is not what people want. You have to give people what they want when they go and pay for something. Otherwise, they're not going to pay for it. It's always been that way, and it's always going to be that way. And Hollywood is finally accepting reality. Let me know what you think of all this in the comments below. Always love to see your ideas. Please be sure you are subscribed to the channel. Click the bell for notifications, give me a thumbs up, and I'll see you again soon with another story. And if I don't see you, I will miss you.